Okay. So share my screen. One second. Okay. So let's start today's session. And today we are going to discuss EDI. Okay. So we'll see what is the EDI and how we can set up the EDI transactions in Sterling Integrator. Okay. And it has a lot of theory and today is going to be a little bit lengthy session. Okay, so because we have to cover a lot of things. Okay, so before we start, may I ask if any of you know or familiar with the EDI, that like what is the EDI and what is the use of EDI?
EDI, maybe the full form is electronic data interchange.
Right, correct.
Yeah, it has standards. It has some it's just an perfect like a specific language that two other computers communicate, and only the ERP systems will understand that, and so that it can convert that into the respective format, whatever they use.
Right, exactly. Yes. Yeah. So EDI is a standard that lot of industries use for the data interchange, right? And when we are saying standard, it means EDI files or transactions has a fixed format. Okay. Now, before we look into this complex terminologies, let's first understand why we need that EDI transaction and how it has evolved, and I mean how these businesses were working before EDI, and then what facilities or what advantages EDI has provided. Okay, so we know that today we have a lot of IT going on, right, and computers and the applications here, right? So these applications or computers need to communicate with each other. Now, when we are saying communicate to each other, means first of all we have to have a some mechanism so that they connect with each other, right? So for the connection, we can use one of the protocols that we have learned so far, maybe like FTP, SFTP, HTTP, or AS2 or something, right? Once the connection is established, these two computers are able to do handshake, we have to find a way so that they understand the message that they are sending to each other, right? So if one computer sends some message to other computers, so computer 2 should able to read that message and determine that what is asked by the first computer, right? So this situation has provide us an opportunity to develop a standard. Okay, I'm sorry. So before the EDI, right, data were interchanged between the computers in the XML format, right? And in fact, still we use XML for the data interchange, right? But there is a small problem with the XML. Okay, problem is that is associated with the XML is we have something called a metadata, right? Metadata or meta information is always something that provide information on the main information, right? Okay, so like in XML, right? So we can use XML for the data interchange between the two systems. But the problem with the XML is, first of all, XML is very heavy, and why it is heavy, I will explain you now. And as I explain you, metadata, that amount of or the quantity of metadata is much more than the information itself, right? For example, we have a say suppose IT company. You have an IT company, right, that want to provide the account information or the payment information or salary information of its employee to a bank, right? So this IT company can provide this information to the bank through XML by using the XML, right? So these two companies sit together and they can determine a XML format, and they can exchange the information in that XML format, right? So why I'm saying that these two companies has to sit together to determine the XML format, because these two companies has to agree on a specific XML, a specific format of XML, right? So that both companies or the application of both companies understand the meaning of XML tags. Okay, now let's say suppose that XML format is employees, right? And then you have employees. Then inside the employees, you will have employee tag. Okay, and for each employee, we have to have one employee tag. Okay, now inside this employee tag, you will have first name. First name is, say suppose Amit, right? Then you will have age, 35. Then you will have something like that, right? So suppose last name. This is Chauhan. So other details, right? And for next employee, we will repeat these tags below the employee ending tag. So something somewhere here. Okay. So your IT company, say suppose your TCS, right, will generate the employee data in this format, and then it will send to the bank. This is your HDFC Bank, right? They will send the data to the HDFC Bank in this format. Now, because this XML format was agreed between these two companies, right? Application that is running in the HDFC Bank, it will able to pass this XML and it will able to extract this information, right? So it knows that inside the employee tag, I will have a element or the tag that name as first name, right? And inside this tag, I will get the name of the employee, of the first name of the employee. Similarly, in the second tag, which is age, I will get the age of the employee. In the fifth tag, which is the account number, that is where I will get the account number. And then the seventh tag, which is your amount, that is where I will get the amount that need to deposit in the employee's account. So it was an agreed XML, and this business can work with this XML. But if you see, there is a small problem with this, and that small problem is that this is not a standard. Okay, so if SDFC wants to do the same business, some other IT company named as XYZ, right? They have to again sit with or discuss with the XYZ and agreed upon another XML format, right? Or maybe SDFC can impose the same XML format, right? Same XML format on the XYZ company, right? So they may agree or may not agree, right? Even if they agree, now XYZ company has to develop another application which can produce the data in this format, right? So this is not standard. That is the first problem. Second problem is, if you see, just to pass only this much of information, right? So suppose if I take example of only these three tags, which is Amit, and the age is 35, and the last name is Chauhan. So to pass this, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 10, 15 characters, right? 15 char. I'm using all this. I also have to pass this tag information, right? Which is much more than the actual information, right? I mean, if you count the length of this tag, right, this will also pass in your wire, right, through the network from TCS to the HDFC Bank. So, and we call this as a metadata, right, because it's provide information about your main information. Right? So size of metadata is, if you see, more than the actual information itself, right? So that is the another problem with the XML. So this situation actually has provided an opportunity to develop or think about something else, right? So, and that something else was different file format, right? Where we don't need this metadata or this XML tags, right? So then IT industry developed the comma separated files, and then the positional files, and other data formats, right? Say suppose if I want to pass the same information in the CSV file or in a comma separated file or delimited file, what I have to do is I just have to write Amit, comma 35, comma Chauhan, right? I don't need to write any other metadata. Okay. Your HDFC Bank will know that the first element is the first name, second element is the age, and the third element is last name, and the fourth element is account number, and the fifth element, sixth element is the amount that needs to be transferred, right? So every information, every data is identified by a position, right? So if this was my CSV format, right? If I consider this as a CSV file, right? In this CSV file, if you see, metadata is reduced significantly, right? Not only reduced, if you see, in name of the metadata, I have only comma separated, these commas, right? Except that there is no other metadata associated. So it makes this file much lighter, at least much lighter compared to XML, right? Then we have another file format where which we call the positional file. Okay, again in the positional file, both parties has to agree like on the format of the file, right? And in case of the positional file, every information or every piece of information is identified by the number of positions, right? Like in this case, in CSV, every information is identified by the position of the information, right? So for, in the first position, why I'm calling the first position, because this is the start of the file, and after that there is only one comma. So that is why I'm calling it as the first element. Second element is, it is between the first comma and the second comma. That is why I'm calling it the second element, right? Similarly, in case of the positional file, okay, both parties decide a format where they say, okay, first 10 characters should be the first name, then next 3 characters should be the age, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So in your file, starting from the first position to 10th position, you will have your first name, right? And after that, 1, 2, 3, up to 3 position, write the age, right? Actually, we can consider only 2 characters for the age, because maximum nowadays, at least maximum age is 99, but let's say we can consider the 3 as well, right? Then after that, right, after starting from the first character, 10 plus 13, starting from the 14th position up to another 10 position, you will have to write the last name, right? So if you see this positional file, you do not have any metadata at all, not even the comma. Okay, but in this case, what happens, say suppose for an employee, age is not available, right? In that case, we have to leave these 1, 2, and 3 spaces, right? Next information will come after leaving the 3 spaces. Otherwise, your system will not able to interpret, right? Because your receiving system, who will receive this information, will also design in the same way that first 10 character is the first, the first name, then next 3 characters is age, and after that next 10 characters are the last name. So this is your positional file. So this is how different file formats has evolved, okay, with the time. Talking about the EDI, so actually your EDI is nothing but mixture of these 2 file formats, CSV and positional file. Okay, so EDI file is nothing but a file that has elements, and each element is separated by a separator, element separator. Okay, so how that EDI file looks, let me show you. Say suppose this. Okay, this is 850 file, 850 EDI file, and this is how your EDI file look like. Okay, we call this values as element, and then you have a separator, and then again see you have your element, right? If some value is not available, we leave the space for it. Okay, so say suppose this is first, second, third, fourth. fourth element is there was no information to enter, right? But we have still leave the space for it. So we entered 5 or 10 blank spaces, right? So this is how your EDI file look like. And we call each line, we call the segment, and each segment is identified with a segment tag. Okay, so we will discuss this in a while. Okay, let's get back to our drawing board. Okay. So now I hope you get some idea of the different file formats, right? XML, comma separated, positional, and then you have EDI, which is a mixture of mix of both these two. I mean the positional as well as the delimited file, right? Where your element separator can be anything. It can be comma, it can be hash tag, it can be $sign, it can be greater than sign or less than sign, anything, right? So that is how your EDI file look like. Now, before we go into the technicality of EDI files, okay, let's understand what is the EDI. And we also have to understand something called the envelope in the EDI file. Okay. Now to understand this thing, okay, let's take an example. Okay. Let's take an example of retail. Okay, where you have a person or a company, okay, called Mike, right? I think we use the same name for the AS2, and that is the reason I want to use the same name here as well, so that because you're familiar and you know that we have used it. So you have Mike, and the other name was Joe.
Bob.
Right.
Bob.
Correct. Okay. So you have Mike and the Bob. Now say suppose Mike is a retailer and the Bob is a supplier. He is shopkeeper. Say suppose normal shopkeeper or the retailer. Okay. He owns a shop. Okay. And this guy has a warehouse. He is supplier. Okay. And this guy owns a shop. Mike want to order for 100 shoes, 100 Nike shoes. Okay. And these are the old people, 1950. We're talking about the 1950. Okay. And they have no computers, no internet or anything. So how they will do the business? Mike want to place a order for 100 shoes to Bob. So what Mike will do? He actually has to create a purchase order, right? So in the old time, and in fact even in some places, right, they have printed booklets. So they will use that. Mike will use that booklet. Okay. So suppose this is his booklet, and this booklet will have some information like his own company's name, Mike Corporation, right? And then here you will have date, right? And then purchase order number, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a unique number to identify each, each page in your booklet. And this is date. This is the your sender name, Mike. The name of the company, and at the bottom, obviously, there will be some signature, and then he also has to somewhere mention the. He deal with the 10,000 suppliers, right? He sell the Nike shoes, he sell the Reebok shoes, and so many other things, right? So at the bottom, he has to, for his own record, he will write that for which supplier this PO is created. So it will be Bob, right? And then line number 1, it will have multiple columns, right? So suppose sequence number, and then item name, and then the quantity, and then the price, right? So this is your quantity, this is the description, and this is the serial number. Okay, something like that. So first he will write first, and this description, Nike shoes, quantity 1,000, right? And price will be say suppose 50,000. Okay. Second, I also want a Reebok shoes or the shirt, something, right? And the quantity is 2,000, right? And the price will be 100K. Okay. And then at the end, you will have total quantity, right? And the total price. So this is something how, right? This is how your purchase order will look like, right? And this guy created this purchase order in the piece of paper, right? And after that, what Mike will do, he has to place this purchase order in an envelope, right? So how to create envelope? So suppose this is the envelope. Okay. So this is my envelope. He will write the address, user address, and he will write the sender address where it needs to go, and then his own address somewhere, right? And then in the address he will write this need to go to Chennai, district number, district ABC, and then the pin code is 456, right? Country is India. He will write that address somewhere here, and then it need to go to their manufacturing department, because it's a big organization, right? It's a big supplier. They manufacture so many things, right? So he's interested in the shoes, purchasing the shoes, right? So maybe he will write the shoe department or something like, right? So that it get to the right place faster. Okay. So because of the address that has been specified has, and the department where it need to go, this envelope will reach to the supplier. So now this guy will use a postmaster who will take this letter and it will deliver to the Bob. Now because of this address, the Chennai, India, and the pin code, because of this address, this will come to the Bob's office, front office, in the reception. Then the reception will look at the department. Oh, this is for an order maybe, but I don't know it's an order or what it is, but this is for the shoes department, right? It's not for the clothes department, or it's not for the ladies clothing department. This is for the shoes, men's shoes. So it need to go to men's shoes. So she will route to on the right department. Okay, so this is how your business was happening before any computers, right? To automate this whole process, okay, EDI was introduced, right? And I mean, let's take a step back. So this is how it was happening. Then, say, suppose after in somewhere in 1990 or 1991 or 1995, these two both guys purchased computer. Now they have their IT team and the IT infrastructure, right? So they want to exchange the same information, but they could. I mean, there is no standard, right? So IT people from this company and IT people from this company will meet somewhere over the call, and they will discuss and they agree to send this information, right? Sender ID, receiver ID, quantity, item description, and the price and all this information in XML file, right? So this is how maybe they exchange information and make their business, right? So that is the one way. But later it was realized that this is not a good way to do the business, because if this guy has to automate this whole process with the 100 suppliers, he has to do the meeting and set up the different XML format, right, in the 100 different ways, right? And if someone change something, then it's again another maintenance and all those things will come into the picture. After realizing this unstandard problem, right, there is a ANSI, right, American Standard for Information Interchange, something like that, right? They come into, I mean, they take the notice of the situation, and they determine to develop standards, right? They decided to create standards for information interchange for various industries, right? So they decided to create one standard for the information interchange for the retail, another standard for the information interchange in the healthcare, right? Another standard for the information interchange in the manufacturing, right? So, and this is very obvious, right? One hospital exchange information with other insurance provider or with other hospital, right? So they will certainly exchange the information, right? But their nature of their information will not be as we discussed here, right? It will not be like the retail industry, right? Maybe they will not generate the POs. They will generate some or pass some other information, right? Insurance information they may be passing, or they may be pass the user information, right? Their patient information. So they created different standards for the information interchange for different industries. Okay, and they call that standards, right, as the EDI. Okay, so what they did actually in their standards, okay, they made some rules, right? And let's talk about the retail, and we can talk about the EDA. I mean this same purchase order. My pen is not working. 1 second. Okay. So if we talk about the retail and this purchase order file, okay, they first understand that how currently this business works, right? How information is exchanged between the parties, between the supplier and retailer, and between the retailer and supplier. they mimic the same purchase order or same format or data in a standard, right? That we call the EDI standard today, right? So in the retail industry, we have a EDI standard called the 850 that we call the purchase order. And in that purchase order, okay, you can specify exact same information that you can specify or that you can mention in your purchase order paper, purchase order booklet. Okay, so they said, okay, you want to place a order to your supplier, let's do that. Okay, so we have a standard called the 850, right? This is a standard for the purchase order. So Mike also know that if I want to place a purchase order, I have to follow the 850 standard. This supplier also know that if I want to accept the purchase order through internet, then I have to or I have to implement the 850. Okay, in this 850, first there is a say suppose your sequence number, right? Then we have item description, and then quantity, and then price. They said you can pass the same information, but sequence of information, right, should be this, right? Create one record, right? And first you write the sequence number, say suppose 1, then place a comma, and after that in 20 characters write the description of the item or the SKU number or the item number, right? So we will say Nike shoes, then comma, and then the quantity is 2, and then after the comma write the price 1000. Okay, this is 850. This is the standard, right? Because both parties now using 850, so Mike will generate the data, I'm the purchase order in this format, right, and send to the supplier. Now we don't need to have discussion between these two parties, I mean these two IT people, right? Because IT people who are working here in the Mike's office, they know that they need to generate a purchase order, and in the purchase order, first field has to be sequence number, second field has to be item description, third field has to be the your quantity, and then the price. In the box office, the people who work, they exactly know the same information. If we get information, some file or some information which says claim to say 850, right? Then in the first field, I will have the sequence number, and in the fourth field, I will have the quantity. Second field will tell me the which item my client is or the retailer is looking for. So it solves a lot of problems, right? Now there is no confusion, and because we have a standard, so we exactly know what we want to do and or what we need to do. Okay, guys. So this is what EDI is, and this is how EDI works. Okay. So in real world, whatever transactions were there, right? EDI has mimicked all those transactions in form of standard, right? In that standard is nothing but a fixed place to provide a specific or fixed information, right? As I explained you here. Okay. Now, ask if you have any question regarding that EDI or EDI standard. And I hope that I have been able to create a small picture in your mind that what can be the EDI. Any question from anyone? I mean, anyone maybe who is not familiar with EDI at all. Okay. Everyone understood everything. Hassan, can you tell me what is EDI? What do you understand with the EDI? Hussein? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. EDI is like an interchange document between the two parties, on the same standards.
Okay.
And
Anything?
it's like a transferring data in a one format to one EDI to other EDI.
One system to other system, not one EDI to
Yeah.
other EDI. Yes. Right. But it's a standard, so both parties will know that what data they are receiving and how they can interpret that data. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And anyone else? Anyone here who do not know EDA at all? Manikant, are you familiar?
Yes, JP. I am working in EDA only, so I
Okay.
understood.
You will definitely know. Anyone else? Nikhil Singh.
Yes, JP, I am also working in EDI healthcare transactions.
Okay. So you will definitely know it. Okay. So I hope that others who are not familiar with the idea, it has given them a good idea. Okay. Now let's move on to our next topic. Now, if you remember, right, in the previous diagram, we talked about the two things. One was data, right, like what I need, in what quantity I need, and what is my expected price, right? So that is the actual data. Okay, that we need to pass from retailer to supplier, from person A to person B. Right? That is the one thing. But if you remember, right, we added one more part on top of that data, and that part was envelope, right? After creating or after writing that purchase order in the purchase order book with my pen, I place that purchase order in a envelope, right? Then I sealed that envelope, right? And after sealing that envelope, I write the address. I write the address of the supplier, where it needs to go. I write the physical address, like where it needs to go. It should go to Chennai address, it should go to their Delhi address in India, US, wherever it needs to go. So that was the address part. And then I also specified the department where where my letter should go for further processing. Okay. Beside that, I also mention my own address so that they can send the acknowledgement to me, right? Or at least they know that who they are dealing with, right? Or where they need to provide the supplies. So that was the envelope, right? So it means you have information, you have structured information, right? I mean, with using the standard or the EDI standard, you have a specification, you read all that specification, and you create the data that we call the structured data according to that standard. That is the one thing. So your data is ready. Now you need to send this data from computer A to computer B. Okay, or person A to person B. But before we send this data from person A to person B, we have to place that in an envelope. This is what happens in the real world, right? And this is actually happens in the EDI too. Okay, you get the data first. We create the data in the EDI format, and before sending this data to the receiver, we add a envelope on it, right? And this envelope provides metadata about the data itself. It provides extra information of the EDI data. It provides information like who I am, where it needs to go, how it should be processed, right? When it was sent, and which department this data is for, right? So this kind of information is provided in your envelope, right? So you send your physical purchase order in the envelope, and in EDI also you format the data, you create the EDI data, and then you envelope it and send to the someone. Now, when this someone or Mr. Bob receives your envelope, what he will do first? He will tear the envelope, right? To open your paper purchase order. So that we call the de-enveloping, right? In the same way, in EDI also, before your receiver read the data or read the actual data, right? He has to remove the envelope part, right? Remove the envelope part from that EDI data. Okay, so we have something called the envelope and the envelope, and the envelope surrounds your actual data, and it provide extra information, or that we call the metadata for your data. Okay, so now we are going to talk about the envelope. Okay, in today's session we are going to see how to set up enveloping and de-enveloping in SI. Okay, and what services and what business processes we need to use for to envelop a EDI document and to de-envelop the EDI document. Okay, and then the EDI transaction is like what is 850, what is 810, what is 855, what is 860, 810, 820. We will discuss that in some other session. Okay, because that is a separate discussion, right? Today we are going to discuss on the technology itself. Okay, so next topic, envelopes. Okay, now we are going to learn about the envelopes. Now, what is it? There. Now, say suppose this is your data. EDI data. Okay. This EDI data, I mean, when I'm saying the EDI data, it means it has some records. Record 1, record 2, record 3, record 4, record 6. Okay, some record. This EDI data is surrounded with envelopes. Okay. It has one envelope. It has one envelope. It will have one more envelope. Okay, and then it will have one second. My digital pen is not working today. Okay, and then it will have one more envelope. Okay, so let's discuss about this, what these envelopes are. Okay, so this is your EDI transaction. EDI transaction. Okay, this EDI transaction is surrounded with something called the transaction envelope. Okay, it is surrounded with something called the transaction envelope, or we call it as transaction set header. Okay, we call it as transaction set header. So this, say suppose we call it as ST. Okay, each envelope has two parts. Okay, one is called header, which is at the top, right? And then you will have something called the trailer. Okay, so section which is at the top called the header of that envelope, and then section which is at the, or record which is at the bottom, we call it as trailer. Okay, and we call it as SC. Okay, so this is transaction ST envelope. I mean, this green box that you see here, this is we call as transaction envelope. Okay, and this transaction envelope is consist of ST header and SC trailer. Okay, so this is your transaction header or transaction envelope. Okay, then we have something called the functional group envelope. Okay, So this next one that you see here, we call it as GS, okay, and which is at the bottom, and the other record, we call it as GE, okay, and after that, which is at the outermost, we called it as interchange envelope, and name of this is ISA, and the footer or the tailor which is at the bottom, we call it as IEA. I, E for elephant, A for apple. Okay, this is IE. Okay, so this is, so we have three envelope. One is ST, and then we have GS, I mean the transaction envelope, group envelope, and then interchain envelope. Okay, each envelope will have two records or two segments. Okay, one is called the header segment, other is called the footer segment or the tailor segment. Okay, for example, if I talk about the innermost envelope that we call the transaction envelope, then the ST is ST, and then you have SE, which is the tailor, and then for the group envelope you have record is called the GS, and then you have GE. Okay, then the outermost envelope is called interchange envelope, where you have ISA, and you have ISA header, and the tailor is IEA. Okay, let me show you that how this, what I'm talking about here. Okay, look at here, ISA envelope. Okay, this is ISA outermost. Okay, then you have IEA, which is the trailer. Okay, this is the ISA interchange. These two records together make a outermost envelope. Okay, that we call the ISA or interchange envelope. Okay, the first record and the last record. The first record is identified by the ISA that we will discuss in detail in a while, and then you have IEA, right? And the second envelope, which is your group envelope, functional group envelope, which is your GS, and then GS, GE, which is your tailor, and GS, which is your header. Then you got your ST envelope, which is ST. You start with ST, your ST envelope, and then you also have SE, which is your transaction envelope tailor, and this is your transaction envelope header. Okay, come back here. Okay, so in diagram, this is how I have represented them. Okay, you have ST envelope. Okay, then you have GS envelope, and then you have ISA and IEA. Okay, transaction envelope, functional group envelope, and interchange envelope. Okay, transactional, functional group envelope, and then interchange envelope. Now let's discuss about the transactional envelope. Transactional envelope or transaction envelope, okay, groups one set of transaction. Okay, group one set of transaction. Okay, say suppose you have one purchase order. That one purchase order will consist of at least 4 or 5 records or 4 or 5 lines. Okay, for now just understand this one purchase order will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines. Okay, these 6 lines has to be, or always and always have to be enclosed or surrounded by an envelope called the transactional envelope. Transaction envelope. Okay, it header of transaction envelope is ST and tailor of transaction envelope is SC. Okay, so if you see in this file, this is your purchase order. Okay, this data has information for a purchase order. Each record represents some information. Okay, each information, each record represents some information. Okay, so this is your purchase order, one purchase order. Got it? This one purchase order C is surrounded with ST and SC, which is your transactional envelope. Okay, then you have your group envelope. Okay, group envelope, okay, surrounds similar type of transactions. Okay, your group envelope club or surrounds similar type of transactions. Okay, in this example we have only one ST, or we have only one transaction, right? But because your group envelope always it has to always present in the EDI file, in X12 EDI file, and it will always surround similar type of transaction. Unfortunately, in this file that you're seeing right now, it has only one transaction, one purchase order. That is why you have you see only one transaction here, right? But this file could be something like this. Like this, right? So
JP, this multiple thing, the one that you copy pasted, so this will happen if there are multiple purchase orders.
if you have multiple purchase orders,
okay.
Yes, right? So your functional group, right? And it if you see this, you have PO that represents purchase order, that says purchase order, right? So your functional group will surround similar type of transactions, right? So in your GS you can have multiple STs, as you can see here. Okay, so this is your GE, group envelope, GS and GE. So this is story of GS and GE, right? Then you have ISA and IE, which we call together, which we call interchange envelope, and which is outermost envelope. One interchange envelope, your interchange envelope can have multiple or can surround multiple group envelopes. Okay, can surround multiple functional group envelope. Okay, which means something like okay, this is your purchase. Where is this? So this is GSG, and this can have multiple STSCs. Okay, and then you will have some different kind of functional group, which is, say, suppose AK, acknowledgement. Okay. SGSC and this one, and here you can have different functional group. For simplicity, let me remove this. So here you can see your ISA, right, interchange group, is surrounding or having multiple functional groups. Okay, so your GS surrounds or contain multiple group envelope. Group envelope has or surrounds your transactional envelope, right? So outermost envelope is IS, GS, and ST. Innermost is ST, outermost is ISA, and the middle one is GS. Okay. So let me remove this because this file is here for a purpose. I need to explain some other things. It has to be like this. Okay, got it, everyone. I hope you people understand what is IS, what is GS, and what is ST, right? So IS is GS and then ST. Okay. So if you do not have any question, then we can move on. We can move to the next topic. Okay. Now let's talk about the components or the elements of an EDI. Okay. Okay. And here it is. Okay. In this file, in this EDI file, right, you people can see records, one line, right? Do you see this? One line, the line that I'm highlighting, right? We call this as a record, right? In the normal, in English, we call it as a record, one record, second record, third record, right? In EDI, we call it as a segment. Okay, we call it as a segment. Okay. Problem is, now in this case, actually, I will say this entire line, in English, I will say it as one record. It's a one record or one line, right? But in EDI, because I know EDI, I understand EDI, I will say this one record or one line has two segments, okay? Because of the segment separator, right? This segment separator. We are going to discuss this now. Okay. So your EDI file is consists of segments. Each segment has, okay, EDI file is consists of segments, and each segment is consist of elements. Okay. This is your one record, and we call it as segment, right? Each segment is consist of elements. Okay. First element in every segment is called as segment identifier. Okay. Which means in EDI, every segment or every record is identified by segment identifier, and that segment identifier always go as the first element. Okay, so here if you say ISA is a segment identifier for this segment, GS is segment identifier for this segment, BEG is the segment identifier for this record, this segment. Okay, and then you have other elements, right? That is is the information part of your segment. Okay, then you will have elements, but these are the information. Each element is separated with element separator. Okay, first element and second element is separated by the element separator. Here in this file, this element separator is asterisk, but it could be something else also. Okay, so you have element separator here, something like this. Okay, then at the end of each segment we have something called the segment separator, segment terminator, something we call it as, right? So it is your segment separator. Okay, segment separator, right? So in this EDI file, if you see, tilde is the segment separator. Tilde character, which is first key in your number line in the keyboard. Okay, so tilde is your segment separator, but it could be anything else. It could be something else too, right? So this is called the segment separator, right? And that was the reason when I said it's a one line, but it's a two segment, because I can see here a segment separator. Because of this only, I can say that it has two segments. It is in the one line, but it's a two different segment. First segment ends here because of this tilde, and then next segment is start and it ends here. So if you see in your EDI file, all segments end with the same segment separator. Okay, guys. Okay, now let's move on. Okay, now we are going to talk about the elements. Okay, we are going to talk about the EDI elements. So here is my ISA. Okay, this is your interchange envelope, and now we are going to discuss each of these elements. Okay, so as I explained you, the first element in any EDI segment is your segment identifier or segment tag. Here, this is your interchange envelope, header, ISA header. This is your interchange trailer. First is your element, first is your segment identifier. Here segment identifier is ISA. For interchange header, interchange envelope header, segment identifier is ISA. Then next is your element separator. Okay, come to the next information. Okay, which is your first element of this segment. Okay, the first element of this segment is 0 0. Okay, now before I explain this to you, let me tell you something. There is something called the qualifiers, information and qualifier. There is something called the information and then something called the qualifier. Okay, so understand that first. If I tell you 25, okay, then your obvious question will be 25. What is this 25? I'm sorry, 25. What is this 25? What is this 25 is this your age? Is this your part of your mobile number? Is this part of your Gmail password? What it is, right? So sometimes we have information, right? But we need to provide that what kind of information this is, right? For example, if you take this example itself, right? Okay, this number is 25, but what this 25 is, right? So field, right, that provide the information about the information is called the qualifier. Okay, field or the information that provide some extra information, right, about the other information is called the qualifier. Got it? So before writing 25, if I give you a definition saying if it's 1, then it's my age. If it's 2, then it's part of my mobile number. And if it's 3, then it's part of my Gmail password, right? And after writing 25, and if I say 2, right? So you will say, what is this 25? Oh, I need to look at the field before this. So this is the field. Oh, it says 2. 2 means it is the part of JP's mobile number, right? So this is called the qualifier and the information. In EDI also, in the envelope, you will see a lot of example of qualifier. So qualifier field explains or provide information about the next field, that what kind of information it is. Okay. So this field that you see here, first field, okay, this is nothing but a qualifier. Okay, this field provides what kind of information the next field will contain. Okay, and this field, I mean the second field, okay, we count the number from the first field, okay, from here. Okay, so I will call this field as a first field, and the field after that is called as an next field or the second field, right? We do not count the tag or the segment identifier, right? So if you remember this, so second element is nothing but your authorization information. Okay, now authorization information can be of any type, right? It can be your user ID, it can be your RSA token, it can be something like that, right? So if you write some information, then to know about what kind of information it is, I will check the first field. Okay, So the second field is nothing but the authorization information, and the first field provide information that what kind of information or what kind of authorization information your first field contains, right? If you see in this example, and most of time in EDI files, you will see 00. Okay, 00 means next field is blank. I do not want to provide any authorization information. Okay, no authorization information is provided. Okay, but if this field is 01, okay, it means in the next field I will get the user ID. Okay, similarly, if you come to the third field and the fourth field, this field is called the security information. Okay, and this field that you see here, third field, okay, third field provide what kind of security information your fourth field contains. Okay, 00 means next field does not contain any information, right? If it's 00, it means my next field is going to be blank. Okay, so this is how it works. Got it? So if say instead of 00, if it has 03, it means this will be password. If you see here 03, it means you will understand automatically that, oh, in the next field I will get the password. Okay, now come to the fifth field. Okay,
GP,
yes.
how come we know that 01 is something like 03 is like a password?
Right. So there is a specification that you can search in the Google, right? That will tell you meaning of all these fields, right? I mean, if I knew lot of field, I have taken some other example, lot of other examples, right? But I remember only these two, right? That is why I'm taking this, right? But there is a definition, okay? That 00 means, as I know that 00 means next information is blank, next information is absent, right? Similarly, there is a meaning for 01, there is a meaning for 02, there is a meaning for 03, right? And you can find that information in the EDI specification, and you can search that on the Google, right? So when you will implement this, right, EDI, you will be provided that information, right? If you say, suppose your partner want to send some different information, right, they will tell you, okay, I will send 05, okay, and look at the EDI specification, 05 means this. So expect password or RSA token in the fourth field, and the qualifier is some 0506, something like that. Okay, now first, sorry, first, second, third, fifth, fourth. Now let's come to the fifth and the sixth. Okay, sixth is the sender ID. Okay, and the fifth is qualifier for the sixth. Okay, sender ID. Sender ID means a unique string to identify your sender, the person who is sending the file, right? It can be user ID, it can be text file number, it can be SSN, it can be, and there are so many other codes, I mean, some other codes to uniquely identify your organization, right? This field identifies that what kind of information will be in the sixth field. Okay, got it?
Yes, JP.
यहाँ पे, here you see ZZ, right? This ZZ means we are using the custom information in the user sender ID in the sixth field. Custom information means your sender and receiver or the both parties had a discussion and they said they will send XYZ to identify sender and they will send ABC, right, to identify the receiver. So this is how Abhishek and I identify each other. I know instead of calling Abhishek, I call him at XYZ, and Abhishek call me ABC instead of calling me GP, right? So we agreed on a specific name, specific name or specific information, right? So that is why we mention here ZZ. Okay. Here we have 12, right? I mean 12, I think text file number. Okay. So if it's 12, right, then here you have to provide the US text file number. I'm not sure about this 12 number, but I guess this 12 means text file number. In the next field, you will have the text file number. Okay. Here ZZ means it is some custom string that these two parties has agreed upon, but the receiver has said I will provide my text file number. So because this is my text file number, seventh field is 12 and 12 means text file number will be available in the next field, okay, which is your 6th, 7th, 8th field, I think. Okay, so this is the significance of these two fields. Okay, so this is 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, this 7, and this is 8. Okay, this is a story of 8 fields. Now come to the 9th field. What is the 9th field?
JP, after sender ID, there is a gap. Wouldn't that be the seventh field?
This, right? No.
Yes.
Element separator, right? Your elements are separated by the element separator, right? So this entire thing makes one element,
Okay.
right? Two elements will be separated by only the element separator.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Right.
Got it.
If this say suppose this information is not present, I said 0 0, it means information is not present, right? So it's
Correct.
blank, but this will not make any difference because if there is a space, but the separator is asterisk.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Okay. Now come to the this field, 9th field, and the 9th field is your date. Okay, 9th field is nothing but date. Okay, 10th is your date when this interchange is created. Okay, and the 10th field is time, right, when this interchange is created. So 9 and 10 is date and time when this interchange is created. So this is simple. Okay. And then you have 8, 9, 10, and this is your 11. 1 second. Okay, so we are getting some noise from someone's mic. Can you mute yourself? Okay. 8, this was 9, and this is now 10, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now come to this 11th field. Okay. This 11th field indicates the standard that you are using. Okay. EDI standard that you are using, right? And it can have actually two values, X and U. Okay. U means US is EDI standard. Okay. And this is, we always use U here for the X12, right? So if you are using X12, then you always have to use here U, that is for the US X12. Okay, this is your 10th, 11th. Come to the 12th field. Okay, 12th field is important. Okay, 12th field is no, 12th not. It's, I get confused again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, let me write it. 12, 13, 14, 15, and then we have 16. Okay. Okay. So what is this 12th field? 12th field is nothing but your interchange version number. Okay. You will we will see similar kind of thing in the group GS also, but there is a slight difference between this version and the group version. Okay. So we have EDI standard, right? So this EDI standards get updated and revised with the time. Okay, so you have, I mean, when this 850 was developed, say suppose the version was 01, I mean, say suppose something 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And then they updated that specification. Then obviously when they update the specification, they will create a new version of that specification. So that, say suppose that specification is 1.1, and then .2, and then .3, something like that, right? So this is your EDI version that you are using. Okay, but this is the major version. Okay, this is the major version of your EDI specification that you are using. Okay, and whenever you will develop the envelope, you have to get this information from your client, or you and your client has to agree on a specific EDI version, right? Say suppose, let me take an example. I mean, just hypothetical example. So we are talking about, say suppose 850. Okay, so on version 1, okay, you had 2 fields only. Okay, or 2 records only. Say suppose record number 1, record number 2. These are the only two records that was mandatory in the version number 1. Okay, then after a year, your the department or the organization that manages or define this specification, they determine that there is another record or the segment that needs to be present in every 850. Then they made the third record also as a mandatory, right? So this will come in the version number 2, right? So if I and Abhishek want to do business on the 850 EDI, then we have to have on the same version, because say suppose if Abhishek is using first version, then he obviously will not write third record, right, or the third segment. But if I'm using the second version, right, my software will always expect the third record. So in this case, our solution will not work, because Abhishek is using the first version and it has only 2 records, and his software generates only these 2 mandatory records. He leaves the third record, which is optional in his version, but my application will always expect third record, so it will fail. But both of us, and I mean the Abhishek and I, we both use the same version, means version 1. I'm using version 1, Abhishek is also using version 1. So in this case, we will not have any problem, right? Because my application or my SI expect only first and second record, right? And Abhishek's integration system is only generate first and second record. So no problem. So this is your EDI version and this is the major version, and you need to know this, that which EDI version 2 organizations are using. Next, which is your field number 13. Okay, this 13 field number is your control number. Okay, interchange control number. Now in EDI, okay, in EDI, every single transaction, okay, in EDI, every single transaction is identified by a unique number. Every single transaction is identified by a unique number, okay, and that number is called control number. Okay, this control number has a lot of advantages, and this control number is used to uniquely identify your document or the envelope, and it is also used to validate your data. How it helps, I will explain to you, right? But for now, you just consider that this is unique interchange control number, which is unique for every single transaction. So if I send first file to the Abhishek, my transaction number will be 1. This transaction control number will be 1. When I send the second file to Abhishek, it should be 2, and on third file it should be 3, right? So this is your transaction control number. Next, field number 14, okay, which is your acknowledgement request. Okay, I send a EDI file to Abhishek. Okay, I send a EDI file to Abhishek, right? When I send the file to Abhishek, I can ask Abhishek to acknowledge me, right? To acknowledge me if he has get the file, right? If I need that acknowledgement, I can indicate that on the field number 14. Okay, so if it's 1, it means I need acknowledgement. Okay, if it's 0, it means I do not need the acknowledgement. Okay, so this is your field number 14. Okay, now let's come to the field number 15. Okay, field number 15 is nothing but your uses. This field is called the uses. Okay, through this field, you can let your receiver know that this is a test data or a production data. Okay, so T for test and P for production. So if it's T here, it means it's a just test data, right? So their internal system can ignore it instead of processing it. Okay, and then in the sixth field is nothing but is segment separator. Okay, last field here. Okay, nice, not control there. Okay. Okay, got it, guys. So this is the definition and meaning of each and every field in the ISA. Now come to the ISA tailor. This was your ISA header. Now come to the ISA tailor. Okay. So segment identifier for ISA tailor is IEA. Okay.
JP,
Yeah.
what is 16th element?
What is this mean?
16th element.
16th element.
Yeah, separator you said something.
Yeah, this is your segment separator. Okay. So whatever you will use here, you have to use the same segment separator in your entire EDI file.
Okay.
Okay.
Means,
I explained you, right? Segment separator. I mean, each segment in the EDI file ends with a segment separator. Okay. It is actually tilde in this case, but it can be anything, right?
okay.
For example, if you see here, this record, this is one segment, so it is ending with a segment separator. Segment separator is here, tilde. Okay. So here also see tilde, 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 things like that. Okay.
Okay.
Next is your IEA. Okay, this is your tailor for the interchange interchange envelope. Okay, this is a footer. Okay, so this is what it is. Come to the next element. Next element right now is 1. Okay, because this screenshot was taken from a ISA where it has only one, where ISA contained only one GS. Okay. The second field, friends, tell you how many GS envelopes or functional group envelope this IS contains. Okay. This field, you see here, right? This field, second field explains you or tell you how many, okay, how many GS envelopes or how many functional group this ISA includes. So if you have, say, suppose 2 GS, then the value will be here 2. If it has only 1 GS, okay, then the value will be 1. The value here is 1. Next is your control number. Okay. In control number in the trailer should exactly match with the control number in the header. Right? So control number is control number, I have already explained. But the control number in trailer will always match or should always match to your header. So if the control number here is 1, here it should also be 1. Okay. So this is your ISA. I mean IEA. Okay. This is your GS. Now let's talk about the SE. I'm sorry. This is your ISA. Now let's talk about the GS. Do not save. Okay. So again, guys, this is a segment. Okay. And these are the elements of those segment, and this is GS, functional group envelope, right? So, and this is functional group, as you can see, the functional group header, and this is your functional group trailer. Okay, so let's discuss about the functional group header first. Okay, so as you can see here, it has 9 elements, right? Elements are separated by the element separator, and your segment ends with the segment separator. Okay, GS is the your segment identifier. So GS is segment identifier here. Come to the next element, which says F. F is nothing but your functional acknowledgement. First element, okay, I numbered it in the wrong way. I'm sorry. This is not first element. Actually, this is the first element. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and this is your 8. Okay. The very first element is your file type. Okay. In the simplest term, if I want to explain you, this is the file type. It's a purchase order, it's acknowledgement, it's a invoice. What kind of data your GS will contain, right? What kind of data your GS will contain. Okay. In EDI, in the S12, okay, every file type is identified by 2 ways. Okay, like your 850. Okay, 850 is a EDI standard. 850 is EDI transaction. Okay, which is nothing but purchase order. Purchase order. Okay, so this purchase order, this EDI transaction is identified by this number, which says 850. Beside this, purchase order is also identified by 2 words, okay, 2 characters, by 2 characters, okay, like in case of the purchase order, it is PO, right? Then you have 997 or 999. Okay, 997 and 999 is your acknowledgement. Okay, whenever a file is sent to a receiver, receiver sends a acknowledgement, right? So that acknowledgement indicates to your sender that receiver has received the file, right? It does not tell that if file has been processed by the receiver, or if it's a good file or bad file, or what it is. It just tells that, okay, your receiver has received the file. That is your 997. It is identified by the FA, functional acknowledgement, right? So the point is, in EDI, every transaction is identified by a number and 2 letters, 2 characters, 2 characters. Okay, so it will be your, we call it as actually as a functional ID code. Okay, so whatever transaction you are developing, you have to know, you have to search in Google, or you have to look into the specification to find out its functional ID, a functional code, right? Next is your sender ID and the receiver ID. Okay, so if you remember, in ISA also you found the this thing, sender ID and receiver ID. But that sender ID and this sender and receiver ID is different. And different in a way that your ISA is the top level envelope, right? So it identifies 2 organizations. Okay, in the group envelope, this sender ID and receiver ID is nothing but the departments, departments in the company. Okay, departments in the company. Got it, guys? Okay, so this identifies department in your company that has generated this purchase order, right? So suppose the department has IT department, you have your manufacturing department, you have your selling department, right? So which department has generated this purchase order, right? So IT has generated this purchase order, so it will be here IT of TCS, something like that, right? And then in the sender ID also, so you will specify for which department this purchase order is for, right? So this is your sender and receiver. Next field is your
JP,
yeah, go ahead.
in most of the times, I have seen sender ID and receiver ID almost same for ISA segment as well as JS segment, unless that ISA segment contains more than one JS segment, then only it will get changed.
If you have more than one GS, then
Yeah.
only it gets changed.
Then only that sender ID, receiver ID gets changed. Otherwise, most of the times, ISA and JS segment contains same sender ID and receiver IDs.
Yeah, I mean it's okay. I mean this is how your two companies, I mean the company for which you work and company which you are trading with, right? These two companies has determined, right? So there in EDI, I mean in the EDI standard, you have option to specify the department, right? But say suppose your company does not have separate department, you have only one department, right? Or your company may have separate department, but actually all files or all transactions go to one SAP system, right? In that case, actually you do not have separation. So it's very likely that you will have the same sender ID in the ISA and the GS, sender and receiver ID. So it's okay. Okay.
Okay.
So this is your sender and receiver. Come to the next field, 4 and 5. So again, 4 is your date and the 5 is your time. So this date time is again, I mean like when this GS is created. Okay. Now come to the next. Next is your group control number. Okay. This is 4, 5. So 6 is nothing but your group control number. Okay. And this group control number is same as your control number in the ISA, but only difference is this control number identify, or it will be always unique for every group. Okay, so suppose you have one ISA and the control number at the ISA is 1, but this ISA contains 2 GS, right? So for the first GS, the control number will be 1, and for the second GS, it will be 2, right? And this group control number has to always unique within one ISA, right? So 2 group control numbers, 2 GS cannot have 1 or the same group control number within one ISA, right? So this is your group control number. Come to the 7th field. The 7th field is nothing but your agency code, and actually this again as in ISA you will always have to write U for X12. Here in the GS you always have to write X for the X12. Okay. Then come to the last field, and this last field is actually your EDI version. Okay, but difference between this EDI version in the GS and ISA is here you have to write the entire, I mean the version and the subversion, right? For example, for the SI, right, we have version 5.2.6.2, right? So we call 5.2.6 as a major version, and this is the minor version, right? So in ISA, I will write 5.2.6, which is the major version, but here in the group at the group header, right, I have to write 5.2.6.2 entire full version number. Okay, your full EDI version number. Okay, so this is your GS. Come to the GE. Okay, GE is your group tailor. So G is your segment identifier. Then this one is again. Okay, now you have to listen this. Okay, this number is count of number of STs in your GS, right? So group control header contains the STs, right? Group header groups or encloses your STs. So if this GS, right, has 1, 2, and 3 transaction sets, okay, it has 3 transaction group or transaction set, then it will be 3. But because this GS contains only one ST, so that is why it is S. So it is nothing but the number of STs in this GS. And then at the end, you have this control number, GS control number. So this always match, should and must always match to your header GS control number. Okay, so this should always same with this. Okay, so this is your GS and GE. Now let's look at the other one, which is your ST. Okay, so this guy is my ST, right? So again, you can see here, this is nothing but your segment. This is segment identifier. This is what is this? This is transaction type. Okay, this is transaction code, or we call the transaction type or transaction set. Okay, so like 850, 997, 996, 810, 820, right? So the 3-digit code to identify a EDI transaction, right? So this is 850. Then next is your unique unique control number. But this is transaction control number. Now for transaction control number, you have to remember that it must be unique within a GS. It cannot repeat within a GS. So your two STs cannot have one within the same GS, right? So this is your ST. So ST, transaction number, and then the transaction control number, right? Come to the SE. Okay, in SE you have SE, which is SE, right? And then you have 12, right? What is this 12? This counts number of records, okay, number of records present in the ST, in your transaction set. Okay, so if your ST contains 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 transactions, 10 segments, okay, then it will be 10, right? If it contains 5 only, then it will be 5 segments, okay. And this guy is your, again, same as your control number, right? If this should always and always match to your header transaction set, okay. So if you see here in this example, here we have 12, right? Because we have 12 segments here. Okay, guys. So this is your ST and SE. And and I don't think that we can finish EDI discussion today. I mean, if I even go to envelope creation, it takes at least 1.5 hours. You have to create the envelope, then we have to create the BP to do the practical, then create the envelope. For the D envelope, we have to create the envelopes again, and then create the BP and run the program. It takes at least 1.5 hours. So I think we have to do it tomorrow. Okay. But I want to check the possibility for one more session sometime in the weekday. Okay, let me stop the recording first.